Hello everyone, my name is Kian and I'm the creator of the Laravel-based static site generator HydePHP. Today I will show you a quick demo on how to create your first Hyde project. As Hyde is a console application, we will be using our terminal for the setup. This guide will assume that you're already familiar with using command line interfaces. Before we get started, please make sure you have both PHP and the package manager Composer installed on your system. Speaking of Composer, Hyde is managed on a per product basis, which means that we will create our project using Composer, which will then manage all of our dependencies. To create our project, we first change into an appropriate parent directory. I will be using my dev folder, but you can use your desktop or documents directory. It's up to you. Once there, we enter the following command into our terminal. Composer create project Hyde/Hyde. This will create a new directory called Hyde and download the required files into it. Now that the installation is complete, we can change into the created directory. Apart from editing source files, our main way of interacting with our Hyde project is through the Hyde command line interface. So let's take a quick look at that. If you're coming from Laravel, this will be familiar, as this is our version of the Artisan CLI. All Hyde commands start by writing PHP Hyde from our terminal in our project directory. So let's run PHP Hyde. This prints a list of all available commands for us. Alright, let's open up this folder and take a quick look at what's here. As you can see, there are quite a few items here. What's most interesting to us right now are the source directories. These are, as the name implies, where our source content lives. These are easily recognizable by their underscore prefix. Parts of Hyde's magic reside in these folders, as they tell Hyde how to parse and compile the source content within. The media directory houses media assets, like images and style sheets. As you can see, there is already a file here called app.css, which contains the styles for the bundle starter frontend. Any files in here will be copied into the site's media directory. In the posts directory, all Markdown files will be turned into blog posts. In the docs directory, all Markdown files will be turned into documentation pages. Finally, we have the pages directory. As you can see, we have a few files here. Don't worry, we'll take a look at all of these in just a bit. Here we can add a few different page types, depending on their file extension. Any HTML files will just be copied directly to the build directory. While arguably useful, it's also quite boring, so let's gloss over that. Next, we can have Markdown pages, which create simple pages from the Markdown within. This is really useful for simple pages like about and information pages. Finally, we have blade pages. These end in .blade.php, like the ones bundled with Hyde, and use the amazing component-based Blade templating engine from Laravel. Blade allows you to create rich pages using components and PHP directives. Hyde comes with a built-in frontend that you can use or scrap. Either way, it's built with Blade, including all the views powering the Markdown-based templates. Okay, now that we know a bit more about what's going on in our project, let's serve it up. Bad puns aside, Hyde does come with a really neat real-time compiler feature that allows us to start up a local web server to preview our site before we build it. It's simple to start with a single console command. I'm just going to do this in a second terminal to keep my main one free. So now if we run php hyde serve, this will open up a server on localhost port 8080. Alright, now here we see the default welcome page that Hyde comes with. I designed it, so I personally think it's really pretty, but it's probably not gonna be very useful for you. So let's switch it out. If you recall just a little bit ago when we were looking at the included pages, this welcome page is the one called index.blade.php. Hyde comes with a couple of home page starters, which we can publish using the command conveniently displayed right here. So let's copy this and go back to our terminal. and paste it in. Here we're prompted to select which homepage we want to publish. The welcome one is the one we have right now, and the blank one is a perfect start if you want to make something of your own. But today I want to create a blog, so let's select the post one. Since this is entry number 1, we simply enter 1 into the terminal and hit enter. And since we're working with the real-time compiler, we don't need to rebuild now, so we'll just type no into the terminal. Now let's go back and hit refresh, and we'll see that we now have our posts feed. But of course we don't have any posts yet, so let's take care of that. Blog posts in Hyde are just markdown files. What's special here is that Hyde allows you to use front matter to configure metadata for the post. We can of course do this by hand, but it's way quicker if we do Hyde do the heavy lifting. So let's go back to our terminal and we'll run php hide make :post, and we'll be asked to fill in some information. So for the title of our post, let's go with a classic: Hello World. Next up, a description. This will be used in excerpts and CEO cards, so let's write that. Now, we can provide an author name. My name is Kane, so I will type that in. And for the category, we'll just do demo. Now we can review the details. As you can see, today's date has already been filled in automatically. And I'm happy with this, so I'll just hit enter to use the pre-selected yes option. Now, if we go back to our site and hit refresh again, you'll see that our post has been created. If we click on read post, we'll be taken to the post. There's no text here yet though, so let's take Hyde's advice and write something awesome. So let's open up our post. It's been added here using the kebab case version of our title. Now is a good time to mention that file names are retained in Hyde, so this post will be compiled to helloworld.html in the site/post directory when we build the site. Alright, let's open it up and take a look. Okay, as you can see here, our front matter has been filled in with the data we entered into the command. So let's write something. Okay, let's hit save and head back to our browser and reload. Neat! Alright, let us now create a quick markdown page. We can scaffold this similarly to a blog post, but this time using the make page command. This command can create more than just markdown pages, but those are the defaults. So we'll just enter php hide make :page. And let's call it about, hit enter, and that's it. We can now open the created file, and you'll see that it's really simple, but we can just write some quick markdown here. Now, if we go back to our site and reload, you will see that a new navigation menu item has been added. Let's click it, and here's our page. If you take a look at the URL again, we will see that the file name is about.html due to the source file being about.md. Finally, I want to add a documentation page. This could also not be easier, but we'll still use our scaffolding command because I want to show you the other options. Okay, so we'll be using the same command as before, but we'll specify that we want to make a documentation page. But I forgot the syntax. No worries, we can always get help from the CLI. We just need to add a --help, and here we have the documentation. Ah, right, we can do this two ways. We can write --type equals docs, or we can just use the shorthand --docs. So let's do that. Alright, now let's enter a fun title and open up the created file. Like I said, documentation pages are so simple that we don't even need front matter, but we could totally add some if we wanted to. But I'll just write something here. Now, if we go back to our site and reload, we'll see that, nothing has changed. Well, that's because we don't have an index file in our docs directory. So, let's go back to our terminal and create a file called docs/index.md. Now, if we go back and reload again, a link to our docs have been added to the end of the navigation menu. If we click it, we'll be taken to the documentation index page. And here in the sidebar is our How to Be Cool page. Awesome! Speaking of awesome, the documentation generator even comes with a lightweight yet very powerful search feature that requires no plugins. Let's try it out. Today I'm wondering how to be cool. So let's type that in. And here we have our result. Click it and we will be taken to the page we are looking for. If we want to go back to the doc start page, we can just click the header here, and if we want to go home, there is a button here. By the way, the sidebar header text and foot button are fully customizable, just like pretty much everything else in Hyde. Cool, so now we have a post and a few pages, but this site doesn't really feel like it's mine, so I want to customize it. Thankfully, HydePHP makes this really easy. We just need to open up the configuration file. The configuration files for our site are conveniently located in the config directory. In here we have a file called Hyde.php, which contains the most common site settings. If you use plugins and add-ons, there might be more files in here. But let's open up this one and take a look. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is change the site name. We can do that here under the name setting. You'll notice that some options support environment variables, which allows us to configure settings in a .env file. The first argument in the env function is the name of the environment setting, and you don't need to touch that. And the second is the default value. So to change our name, we can either set the site name and environment variable, or we can just edit a second setting. Or we can just replace the entire line and set it to my cool Hyde site. By the way, please be mindful that every entry ends with a comma, otherwise PHP will get upset. Okay, now if we go back to our site and hit refresh, you'll see that our site name has been updated in many places, including the navigation header here and the site title here, and at various points in the HTML source code that's behind all of this. Alright, so I'm getting happy with my website, but it's on my computer and I want to show it to the world. That's easy enough. We just go back to our terminal and run the build command. It's php hyde build, and wow, that was fast. Now, if we open our projects folder and navigate to the site directory, we have a bunch of files with our static HTML here. Let's try opening up the index page, and this looks exactly the same as in our preview. Perfect. And the links here work as well, of course, because all the links in Hyde are made to be relative, just for this reason. There are now plenty of ways your amazing site can be shared with the world. A common way is to drop the files into the public directory of a web server using a file manager or FTP, but my personal favorite is using GitHub Pages, as that allows me to both drag and drop the files onto a GitHub repo from the web client, or even compile the site automatically in the cloud whenever I make a change, but that's for another video. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you learn a bunch and that you're excited to try out HydePHP. Stay tuned for much more content. In the meantime, feel free to check out the blog on hydephp.com/posts. If you have any questions, check the documentation at hydephp.com/docs or leave a comment. You can also raise an issue on GitHub if you get stuck, have feedback, or need some help. My name is Vinkayan and I really hope you try out HydePHP. Have a great day.